Welcome back to the Remote No Pressure podcast, everyone and Bill.
Oh, thank you. It's always good to be back.
You like that?
I like that.
You like how I said everyone and Bill?
That includes me in with everyone.
That
I don't
does.
feel so discluded in the greeting anymore.
But yet you're special.
Oh,
Yeah, you're normal like everyone else, but yet we set aside a little bit for Bill.
thanks everybody.
But I never welcome everyone. I'm always like, it's great to be back. And then no, I say
No, you do not say
what,
that.
What did I say?
I say it's great. I say it's great to be back, and you're all like, "Welcome to the Remote No Pressure podcast." Everyone, wow! Now I'm saying everyone.
Welcome to the Remote No Pressure podcast.
Long
Bill.
and the short of it, everyone, welcome.
Anyone that's still listening after that cluster, we're glad you stuck around. But Bill, how have you been, man?
I've been good. Yourself?
Good. This is the episode right before Christmas of 2020.
Yeah.
One of the best years of my life.
Wow. So much has happened.
It's been the worst.
I mean, we had this nice break from work that everybody's been taking.
My friend's restaurants
A few
are closing
things going
down.
on in politics.
Nothing with politics going. Nothing special there. Just an ordinary election year.
We're recording this a little in advance, so we can't even say what's going on because we have no idea.
We have no idea what's going on.
It's going to be completely different by the time this airs.
Yeah, who knows? I just hope everything's still peaceful by the time this airs.
I could go either way.
And the season of peace, we hope that everything stays peaceful. That's for sure.
Yes,
through
that's
this whole election thing. But Bill, how have you been? I mean, you got big plans for the holiday? You sticking around? You and Jennifer, or are you gonna? I mean, what are you gonna do? And there's no judgment here.
I really don't know. I think we're gonna go over to the other side of the state and visit the in-laws, but I'm not 100% sure yet because we haven't even talked about that. I'm still getting through like what work's planning for Christmas.
Oh yeah.
And we're doing 3 big services on Christmas Eve. So
wow.
After that, no idea.
Well, yeah, I think we're just going to stick around the house here, and we may see my in-laws, my mother and father-in-law, but that's about it. I don't think we're going to be doing much traveling.
We will not be following the governor's orders, though, and canceling Christmas.
Meister Burger. I think I did that a couple episodes ago.
Yeah, and I was like, I have no idea what.
And Chris Fleury emailed me and said last episode was ha ha ha. It doesn't sound as funny like when you say it, but when you read it, like ha 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 ha. But when you say it, last episode is ha 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 ha. And it's just like, what if you read all of your text and messages out loud with no
inflection?
No inflection.
It'd be exciting.
That would be crazy. Maybe that's what we should do. Maybe we should start like a bit, like every week, like text without inflection.
we read comments from listener comments.
Listener comments. Speaking of that, please, if you're watching us on the YouTube channel on YouTube or any other station, go
Rumble.
below. Rumble. We are on Rumble as
Instagram.
well. Instagram.
Are we on Parler yet?
We are on Parler. Parler. Facebook. Instagram.
Are you on
YouTube.
Twitter?
We are.
We are on the Twitter.
We're on the Twitter as well. But wherever you are right now, especially on the YouTube, go below and click the subscribe button. It really helps us, and click the like. We appreciate all the comments that have come along. We had a really cool comment this week about Fiberglass Manifestos, Cameron Mortensen's most recent episode that he came on. What a cool dude, man. And his statistics are amazing. So he's in this little corner of the web, and he's just making a huge impact on the.
That's awesome.
On the business. So yeah. So thank you guys so much. So wherever you are right now, if you're on the YouTube channel, go down below and click subscribe. Hit the little bell, because that's going to create the algorithms that's going to help us move up and rank and get more.
And comment
action.
too.
Comment down below. You know what I mean? So be sure to comment, leave us some reviews as well. All of those things help. Please go and leave us some reviews. Because Bill and I are here and we've been working hard. This is our 4th season, Bill's 3rd season, my 4th season here, and we were working really hard to build this thing.
Yeah.
So, Bill, we recently had we'll just say in other news.
So, the last time we had another news, we talked about a monolith in Utah.
Right.
And there was a lot of mystery behind that, like where it came from. It's out in the middle of nowhere in like this canyon, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then they started popping up all over the world. But the one with Utah was weird. It didn't look like a man-made structure, people were saying. I did not see it, so I can't say. I just saw pictures. And suddenly it disappeared. Since we reported on it. No, I'm just kidding.
Since we've reported on it.
But it didn't air, so It didn't air by the time it disappeared. So it's going to be, well, we're a week behind right now, folks. So it's going to be on Sunday when you heard it last week.
But if you believe in other dimensions, is there a future Jeff and Bill podcast?
Whoa. We should make a future Jeff and Bill podcast.
A future Jeff and Bill podcast in another dimension.
And we'll air it way in the future.
We'll air it maybe this Sunday.
Whoa.
No, but seriously, like if there's another dimension, maybe they heard us in the other dimension talk about it. And they're like, wait, the aliens are like, yeah, sure, we are on CNN and all that. But if we're on the Remote No Pressure podcast, we better get this out of here before things really get out of hand. Not only that is we have such a great reputation with fake news.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That they thought they wouldn't be taken seriously.
Yep.
But New York Times reports, there's a report. I'm going to post this in the links down below. Also on the podcast as well. Go down below and click on the link. But the New York Times posted an article. Say you want to build a monolith. And it goes into here from these experts in design and special effects that say that monoliths appeared around the world are not difficult to replicate. And then it says in what is it called? Quotes. That doesn't mean that you should try.
Parentheses,
not quotes. But, they talk about these monoliths popping up everywhere. We actually had one here.
Yeah, you sent me a link yesterday to one that popped up about 3 miles from my house.
Wow.
And I'm like, heck yeah, let's go for a ride, honey. And we jumped in the car, and it was getting dark. And we drove around that corner, which is, if anybody's from the Grand Rapids area, Broadmoor and 36th Street. So it's a kind of a busy intersection.
Yeah.
There was nothing. It was gone.
Wow.
Dude. I know.
But I sent you the article, so it is true.
It is. I saw pictures of it on the video.
And I was sure to send you, it was like the local CBS affiliate. I didn't send you the Fox 17.
Did they have one too?
I don't know, but I wanted to give you the most legitimate news source.
That was Wood TV 8.
That was Wood TV 8. That's the most, you go to Fox 17, I don't know, because
Fox
News, the home of real, fair, and balanced news. But sometimes they're not always accurate. So I got you the Wood TV 8, which I always thought the name Wood TV 8 was kind of where did they get the name Wood from?
I don't know. WOOD. I don't know. I always kind of giggled because they have their radio station has morning wood.
Where did they come up with that stuff?
I don't know.
I mean, it sounds like free beer and hot wings. Morning wood.
Is that still a thing?
I don't think so.
Because I heard Zane was no longer doing that.
He's from here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he might have been from the east side of the state too, like Saginaw, I think.
Well, there's one of them that was from here.
Yeah.
And one time I
Free Beer and Hot Wings is from Grand Rapids. Yeah.
I'll tell you a funny story about it. I met Free Beer and Hot Wings. It's one of the guys from Free Beer and Hot Wings. I'm talking to him, and I said, "Oh, what do you do for work?" And I always stick my foot in my mouth, And he goes, "I run I do a radio show, here in Grand Rapids." I was like, "Oh, really?" I said, "Yeah, that's really cool. I love local radio. Nothing worse than these huge syndicated shows and no one knows what's going on locally." And here he is. He was really cool. What is it called? Free Beer and Hot Wings?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I go, "What's the name of your show?" He goes, "Free Beer and Hot Wings." I'm like, son of a.
Well, they know what's going on locally, hopefully.
Yeah.
Just not where they're
Not
syndicated
reported.
in bigger cities.
Yeah.
I don't even know where they're at now.
But if they want to syndicate the RMP podcast, I'd be okay with that. We are always into syndication.
We'll air once a week. We just got to watch what we say.
We don't get to, you know what? And I've gotten a lot of feedback on our PG-13 rating. We don't really go overboard. There's a lot of podcasts that they go overboard. They lots of swearing, lots of, we try our best. I mean, there's sometimes we get a little, hairy, but
yep. Then we shave it off.
and we pluck it right out.
Woo! Little nair.
Anyways, but we try to keep it, somewhat family friendly.
Yeah. We're a conservative PG-13.
We're a conservative PG-13.
In comparison to you ever watch Airplane?
Of course, dude.
That was rated PG.
I No.
And like there's
wasn't there a pair of
yeah. Every little boy knows that when they're growing up in airplanes.
In the 80s. Everyone in the 80s like rewind.
Wait, did I just skip pause? Yeah, I did.
That was it. We're at the VHS tape in that one spot.
Yep. Why is it so worn right here?
I think it's kind of fuzzy here. I don't know. You know,
the airplane's going down, it gets fuzzy, and then it blanks out.
It's the plane. Yeah. That was one of my favorite movies as a kid for obvious reasons. Speaking of kids, being kids, this is the time of year when giving is on the forefront of our mind, and it has been a crazy year for everybody. And I don't really talk about a lot of nonprofit organizations. I mean, we bring some on every once in a while, just to talk and stuff. But what are the ones that I stand behind personally as a podcast and as who we are? And it's hard for me even just not, and I'm being serious, not to tear up right now. And that's not the caffeine or the nicotine or anything. It's the real Jeff right now. And it's morning time, so I haven't been drinking, but it's really hard for me not to tear up because of all the things that the Mayfly Project has been doing. This week we have Mr. Jess Westbrook here from the Mayfly Project, and what they do is they take kids who are in the foster system and they teach them how to fly fish. They take them to fly fish, and they provide them the tools they need to fly fish. And if you guys look on the picture that we provided for you on Instagram, it's Jess with a young guy, a young little boy in Arkansas fishing. And Jess goes into the story. He's been on the podcast before. And if you wait till the very end of the podcast, we're going to put up a link there. And you can listen to his original podcast, just like we do with everyone who comes through. But sitting in his church, he's like, I want to do something for these kids. I want to do something, and all I know how to do, well, he knows how to do a lot of stuff. He's a smart guy, but he loves to fly fish. And he started the 501c3, the Mayfly Project. And it really means a lot to me. We were trying to get one started. I say we. I had nothing to do with the local chapter, but my friend Kim Sears was really involved in it. He's been on the podcast as well. Yep. 2020 hit, March, COVID kind of screwed everything up. And I would go out there every once in a while. I went to, we went to like a fly casting night. I did, and it was really cool. I wasn't able to commit. And one of the big things with this is you have to commit to it because these kids are let down so much. And I don't have the time or capacity to do that. But what can we do? And I want you guys to know about the Mayfly Project. If you're looking at it for a place to give this year, I really like the Mayfly Project. And the reason why is just because, number one, Jess is an incredible human being, and what they're doing for these kids who have had, there's some people that just make some really crappy decisions in life, and a lot of it's because of their background. I know it's not all, it's not black and white, but with kids, it's almost like St. Jude's and stuff like that. They have nothing to do with it. They didn't smoke their whole life and get lung cancer or whatever. These are innocent children, Yep. Not that lung cancer is not serious and nothing like that, but I'm just saying these kids are like the most innocent and precious kids that have been put into the system that they have nothing to do with it. They haven't made these choices. So for us as a community, as a fly fishing community, going in and saying, hey, we love you. We want to show you the ropes. How can you deal with the stress? I don't know. I could go on and on, Bill, but I really love the Mayfly Project.
That's awesome. That's really good for the kids, for the community, for everything.
For everything. And it's not like a religious thing or anything like that. It's very much fly fishing, teaching them how to fly fish, and it's been amazing. And he even talks, a couple of the kids, it's not their number one goal for them to get adopted, but sometimes every once in a while a kid gets adopted, and I just love that. Yeah. I love that story. So welcome to the podcast. Let's light the fire. This week on the Remote No Pressure podcast, I'm very excited to have my friend Jess Westbrook on the horn with me. Thanks a lot for hanging out with me today, Jess.
Yeah, Jeff, thanks for having me back. I'm super excited. I'm glad that I got invited back. Yeah. So this is exciting.
Yeah, you paused there for a second, and the internet where you live, because you live in the middle of nowhere, you pause for a second, and I'm like, oh crap, here we go again. But you guys, you live out like in the country then, in the boondocks? Where do you live?
Yeah, so not real far in the boondocks, but far enough out where we have to have satellite internet, so. Okay. So internet connection is a little wonky at times.
Yeah, I kind of live in a place like that. I'm pretty far out, but I'm next to a small little elementary school. So I get all the beautiful like internet and everything because it goes to the school. So I'm so happy that's I get the best of both worlds,
That's right. That's awesome.
Yeah, so for anyone who's on the YouTube channel, or if you're not on the YouTube, you can go there to YouTube, to our Remote No Pressure YouTube page. You can see Jesse dressed up super nice. Again, I'm sorry for not telling you that it was not a video. Last time you came on, it was just over the phone, and we're slowly getting better, and we're trying to develop new channels, and as you know what it's like building a business. So we really appreciate you coming on here with your hat and everything. And you said, "How's my hair look?" Well, you got a hat on. See, I wear a hat to hide my baldness. It looks like you have some actual hair up there.
Yeah, I have a little bit, but it's turning gray. So, like I said, but I would have fixed it if I didn't know we were going to be on video, Jeff. But,
would you be willing to show it to us right here, right now, like a world premiere of Jess's hair? See, that's great hair. See, this is the problem. You pro hair people, you have so much hair, and then it's like, I would kill. Like my father-in-law's got great hair, but then he just shaves it. Like, to me, that's just wasting this beautiful thing that you have, this gift from God, And here I am losing mine, and then they're not combing it, waking up, It just bothers me.
Right. Oh man, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, most of the people here know who you are at this point. Jess Westbrook from the Mayfly Project. Can you tell us a little bit about what the Mayfly Project is?
Yeah, so the Mayfly Project is a nonprofit organization, and we mentor foster children through fly fishing. So we mentor our kids through a 6-month session, and we take them out 5 times. And during those 5 outings, they learn everything from casting to conservation to fly tying. Basically just teach them how to be a well-rounded fly fisherman. And then at the end, they all get their own fly rod, their own pack, flies, everything. So our goal is basically to take them from point A, which is probably, having never fly fished, to point B, which is, knowing how to fly fish and then having all the gear to do it. So that's a little bit of the way, just a 30,000 foot, overview of the program.
That's amazing. Now, you came on before. We've talked a little bit about how you started the program and everything. What's it been like to go through this crazy COVID thing, running a nonprofit like yours?
Yeah. So, obviously, like Jeff, lots of fear at first, right? Like we're out with kids. What does this look like? But just kind of like everybody else did, we just adapted. So we, Caitlin came up with the idea to, send our fly tying kits to kids across the country. So we sent 300 fly tying kits and about 100 vices to 300 kids across like 7 states. And so we also have videos that are done by Tim Camisa. These videos, we basically had kits that matched up to these videos, and we sent them all these group homes along with like coloring sheets and all kinds of stuff, So that's one way we were able to kind of still serve our population during COVID. We also did some cool stuff with Sightline Provisions out of Texas. I don't know if you know Edgar or not, Jeff, but he's amazing. He
really is.
We did a thing with like Patagonia and S. Kent Rockwell Foundation and Edgar, and we basically badged up Mayfly Project hats and sold them. And then we used those monies to purchase guide trips from our mentors that were guides for our foster kids this next year when like COVID's, over with. Knock on wood. I'm knocking on wood. So that was a really cool thing of a way that like, our mentors that are guides that were out of work, we were able to kind of, hopefully help supplement some of their income, and they get to take foster kids. So it was kind of like a win-win for everybody.
Oh yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Edgar's a great guy. He's been on the show with Sideline Provisions. And then I was down in Texas this past summer, did a big trip down there, and he came out by he came out by the fire and just, we had a nice time. He drops a box of bracelets down and just a very generous human being, and it's very cool that you guys work with him. He's a great dude. Yeah. What made you guys decide to start? I know the story, and there's a lot of people, especially if you hang on to the end of the video here, you can click on Jess's original interview. But what made you guys start the Mayfly Project?
So, and not to dive all the way into that story again, Jeff, but I was kind of like looking for a way to give back. And I saw a quote today actually online, and somebody said that, children without families are the world's most vulnerable population.
Wow.
And that really resonates with me, so like, when, my wife and I had our first son, I kind of realized that I could, I guess, love a human being that much. I love my mom and my dad, but it's a whole other thing to have a kid,
Oh, yeah.
And, I was looking for a way to give back. I've fly fished my entire life. I've got it in Alaska. I've done all kinds of cool stuff, but, when it came to giving back, I knew I needed to give back. I just didn't know how. And then one Sunday we were at church and they were talking about foster kids. And I was like, man, like, you mean these kids don't have families? Like, this is crazy. I don't understand this. And, so we started taking foster kids, just my wife and I. And then we decided to set up a nonprofit, in early 2015. We actually got approved for the 501c3 in December 2015. So we're almost 5 years in,
That's
right?
wild,
like this month.
Yeah.
And, and then just a few short months after we got our 501c3, Caitlin reached out to us because she saw our logo hit the, I guess, Instagram, and she asked Andrea Larco. She was like, "What is this logo for?" And she's like, "It's some kids taking foster kids." And Caitlin was like, "Holy cow! Like, I'm taking foster kids too." So Kate reached out to me, and she's got a background in social work. I have a background in like business, so it was kind of just a perfect, fit to start something. And so she was like, "Yeah, we should try to do this." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to like this, Caitlin. Like, you and I are the only two that think this is cool."
Really?
She's like, no, I think people.
You really thought that? Did you?
Yeah, I really did. I was like, I don't think this is going to.
Let me back up. Let me interrupt you here. Why did you feel that way? Something that resonated with you and you were passionate about. Why do you truly didn't think anyone? You thought maybe just a handful of people, maybe a couple people, or like what were you thinking?
Yeah, it was just like, it's such, it's so niche, right? Like fly fishing is niche, in terms of the fishing industry, you know what I mean? So,
right.
Then you just focus on kids. Well, that's niche. And then you dial it down even further to just foster kids, you know what I mean? Which is way down. And then, you add the, I'm not going to say, the red tape to get to those kids, you know what I mean? So, even though they don't have families and whatnot, they're in state custody. So, getting access to those kids can be hard. It took us a long time to get access to kids. So I think that was kind of my first hesitation, like, could we even do this? And then, it turns out when you connect like, the world's most vulnerable population, right? Kids without families with, fly fishermen, who I believe are the most passionate people, in the world.
Yes, we are.
Some cool stuff happens,
Yeah, that's amazing. And let me just ask you a few questions just about that journey. Like, you didn't think, no one, I don't know if anyone else is going to be on board. What made you keep going then? If you didn't really have that confidence, I mean, looking at the past 5 years, I mean, it's easy to look back and say, wow, we're working with Patagonia. I mean, we've done some really cool things, and, there's some cool brands that have come on board. But before that, here's Jess in church. I mean, what made you keep going? Why didn't you doubt yourself out of it?
Well, so, I think, Jeff, that, I think I kind of realized that, no matter what, even if, let's say, the Mayfly Project stopped tomorrow, right, for whatever reason, the whole thing will have been worth it because we changed one kid's life. So, even, when it was just Kate and I, or just Laura and I, and Kate and I, taking kids in Arkansas and Idaho, it seemed so worth it. We were developing all this curriculum and all this stuff, even if nobody wanted to, because we wanted to do it. You know what I mean? Like, if the Mayfly Project didn't exist, right, and I wasn't talking to you, like, I'd still be taking foster kids because they need it. You know what I mean? Like, they just need it.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's something internal. I mean, I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs. I talk a lot to people who have started things that have grown. I've talked to people who've started things and they failed. But you have to have that internal drive. You don't have to have, what you're saying. I don't care if Mayfly Project existed or not. I definitely would still be taking foster kids. out, to do that. It's very good that it's hard to reach the kids that are in state custody because, we want to keep them safe. What's the biggest thing, the biggest hurdle for you as the owner of the 501c3? What's the biggest hurdle for you to get from into a state and to actually get access and be able to affect those kids' lives?
Yeah. So really, Jeff, like the initial, going into the state is obviously the hardest, like the first time, after we've been in the state for a while, like it's pretty easy because, everybody can see how the kids react to it, how they respond to, being outside. And so, once we're in a state, it's pretty easy, but, getting access in a state can be hard, mainly, trying to get in touch with the right people, whether we most of the time work with group homes. And some states don't have group homes. So that can present challenges, right? Like anytime we go into a new state, it's like, okay, do they have group homes? Do we have any contacts with DCFS? There's all these different questions on just how does this new state work? You know what I'm saying? Because some are only in family custody, some are in group homes, some are, held in big facilities. So, figuring out the system is obviously the hardest at first. And as we grow, we're in, this year we'll have roughly like 50 projects in like 37 states. And as we grow, it seems to, like we have in Arkansas, we have a memorandum of understanding with like the state of Arkansas. So like if you want to volunteer with foster kids, like the Mayfly Project is actually like a box you can check, So like we're gaining recognition in the, foster care community. We're actually having like group homes reach out to us. So, it is definitely finding the kids and connecting the kids is the hardest part. But as we have gotten bigger, it seems, to be easier just from word of mouth or people have kind of heard from us, if that makes sense.
Sure. Absolutely. Now, who's your ideal volunteer? I mean, I know anybody, but who is the person that when they come in, you're like, yeah, that's what we want? Yeah.
So, most people think it's like, an extensive knowledge of fly fishing. Like that's actually not, I would even say in my top 3, right? So probably the first characteristic is going to be dependability, so these kids have been, left and moved their entire life. So if we say that we're going to show up, like we're going to be there no matter what. Doesn't matter if it's 18 degrees or if it's 118, like we're going to show up. So dependability is probably our first thing. Obviously, we run all kinds of, we have reference checks and background checks and stuff they have to pass, so that's obviously super important. And just, overall, just like, depending, caring, just all of those good characteristics that, and just to be a good example for kids, we have a ton of volunteers who aren't necessarily fly fishing. We have some that help make lunches, which is super important. We also have some other volunteers who will just, help set up for big events. That's a big deal. So, I'd say the ideal volunteer is definitely, dependable and caring. We can teach everybody else to we can teach you how to fly fish, right? But we need you to be dependable first.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I think I told this story on the first time you came on the show, and I started to tell you before the phone quit earlier, but here in Grand Rapids, they had a special on Fox 17, which is our local Fox channel, and they were taking these kids in the foster system to Lake Michigan. Now, I live between Grand Rapids and Lake Michigan. It's not you can get to Lake Michigan in 30 minutes, right? 30, 45 minutes. Okay. And here are these kids from the inner city that were freaking out because they were touching sand for the first time in their life. And I'm like, these kids live, so close to Lake Michigan. I mean, we go there several times. Sometimes we'll just go there after dinner one night. I'll take my kids to get some ice cream and we'll go to the lake. These are these kids. Right. And it's hard not to tear up talking about it. I mean, it's like, how in the world did they not get access to this? You should have seen their faces. And they were just grabbing the sand and it's a cutesy little thing on Fox 17. But to me, it was like, it really stuck out to me that here are these kids that are like local, like these, they're not very far and they've never been to Lake Michigan. They don't have, the opportunities that a lot of other people do. You know, we talk about privilege, you know, a lot of times in you know, and I think some of that is not always, you know, both sides of the political parties will leverage that to get their narrative right. But there are there are things where we are very privileged and very, you know, a person of color in inner city who grew up in the inner city that's never been to the beach tries to go and get a job or tries to build relationships or tries to, you know, that is a learning curve for them, you know? So,
right. Yeah.
I mean,
that's definitely true. Like, you know, we hear some crazy stories, Jeff, but you know, you'd be surprised at kids who have, I'm just going to say like, never been on the interstate, you know what I mean? Just, and just like you said, just crazy, you know, life experiences that some of us do every day. That some of these kids have never had access to, you know, which seems wild to us and we can't really fathom it, but it's definitely real.
Yeah. I went to the Harvard of the South. That's a joke, for college, with Mr. Paul Torres. Okay. And it's okay. So I'll tell you this little story, Jess. So it's on the corner of, I think it's I-35 and Keast Boulevard. In probably one of the back in the day. Now it's probably a real expensive neighborhood now, but back in the day, it was one of those things where you don't want to go and get shot. I mean, you go, there's a McDonald's across the street from the dorm, and you know it's not a safe part of town. And I remember going into this McDonald's and talking to, you know, because I talk to everybody. That's what I've always done. That's why I have a podcast. Yeah. So I go into this McDonald's and I start talking to this lady, and she was an older lady, and she had never left like a 4 square mile section of this city in her whole life. How was that possible? You know, how is that possible? So it's just amazing to see those things. And what are one of those stories that keeps you going, or what's that one story that you tell your when you're at a TU event or something where you have to talk about the Mayfly Project? What's that one story that you tell, Jess?
Yeah, I think, you know, Jeff, so we've got tons of great ones, right?
Sure.
Like, you know, we've had actually like 6 kids adopted because of like Mayfly Project videos. So that's cool. That's not our main focus, right? But those are cool stories. The one that I always kind of gravitate back to and tell is just because it's one that was like really organic, I guess. So in Colorado, you know, there were some mentors that were out fishing one day, and they were walking. I can't remember what river they were at, but they were walking up this river, and they said that they saw this girl just railing fish, you know, like. And they said they were a couple hundred yards away from her, and they were walking up, and they got up and they realized it was a mentee from last year that was out, like had been reunited with her uncle, and she was teaching him how to fly fish. You know what I mean? And so that I would think that's probably one of the cooler stories, mainly just because it, you know, you're walking up and down a river and you see a kid that you worked with last year, and, you know, here she is just slaying fish, you know. So it's proof that, you know, our kids keep fishing, you know, just for the same reasons that, you know, I fly fish for, you know, anxiety, or people fly fish, you know, vets fly fish, you know, to deal with PTSD. Like our kids have all those same things, and they need this as an outlet for sure, you know? Yeah.
Do you suffer from anxiety, Jess?
Yeah. So that's kind of the first part of the story that I think I told on the first podcast, but I didn't tell on this last one. So when Case was born, I started having like panic attacks. So 7 days in, and I think I drank like a whole lot of coffee, and like every time Laura would get up to feed Case, I would tie flies, you know, which I don't think is like, I get a cup of coffee and tie flies. And so like, I think it was like the lack of sleep and caffeine that caused me to have my first panic attack. And so had my first panic attack when Case was 7 days old. And so for about a year, I dealt with it really, really hard. Like I lost like 35 pounds. I mean, I look great, Jeff. I look great, you know, but
you did,
I lost 35 pounds. And like I said, I was missing work, and, you know, my bosses were really, really cool. I was like the CFO of a construction company, and they kind of knew what was going on. And, but, you know, kind of when I realized that mentoring was a thing for me, and why I wanted to do it for foster kids was because there was a guy that was, he was just like 10 years older than me, and they had a fly fishing show on the Pursuit channel, and I really looked up to him. And Chris, I met him right before we had Case, like the week before we had Case, we went fishing. And like I said, the week after is when I had my first panic attack, and I didn't really want to fish, but every time Chris would ask me to go, I would hop up and go, right? Because I looked up to Chris. Right. And so I noticed every time I was out on the water, that my anxiety subsided. So, every day of the week I was having crazy anxiety, couldn't hardly eat, all of this stuff. But when I was out on the river, like everything felt okay. So that's when I realized that there was healing, in fly fishing. So it was a pretty wild year. Like I said, I still struggle with it from time to time, and I deal with it, by fishing. So it's a great excuse when I'm like, hey, Laura, like I'm feeling anxious. I need to go fishing. So I do use that every once in a while.
Hey,
but the majority of the time it's true.
Yeah, it's really hard when you have your first baby. I think that's the hardest because, like, my wife nursed our oldest, and I'd want to get up with her when she fed him because I felt guilty that I'm just like a lazy sack just laying there while, and finally she's like, you have to sleep because one of us has to be well rested. One of us has to be like conscious.
Yeah.
Raising the kids.
That's right.
But that was a hard.
It probably comes back. Yeah, probably comes back to that drive too you were talking about. I was like, no, I can stay up forever on caffeine. Time flies. You know what I mean? Like I'll stay up forever. It didn't work out for me.
Yeah, but
sure.
I know caffeine doesn't. Caffeine does do that to me. Like I'll get really anxious, and I've even had friends who are like, you have a really anxious personality, and I think part of it's because of the excessive caffeine I was drinking. So I cut back on a lot of that. But I don't want to tell people that it was the coffee, not the fly fishing, because then I won't get to go fly fishing anymore. So I can't.
That's right. You got to keep that in your back pocket.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I remember the first time you talked to me over the phone, and it was just an amazing interview. And we're going to post that up there in the links of the show notes as well. What's the future for you guys as you're heading into 2021? I know everything's we're all unsure of what's going on, but what is your what are you looking forward to in 2021?
Yeah, so 2021 is going to be awesome for us. So normally we'll only launch 5 projects a year. In 2021 we're going to launch 14. So we're excited about that. We're going to launch our first, I'm knocking on wood again, international project. So we're going to have a project in the United Kingdom. Okay. So Miss Susan, and I'll butcher her last name, Scrupa, maybe? Miss Susan, I'm sorry if I butcher your last name. Nobody can say it. But Miss Susan's been working really hard, and we're working on getting some things finalized to, try to take the Mayfly Project international. So she's already identified kids and got mentors. And so we're working on the legalities of that. That's exciting here in the U.S. Like I said, we'll have probably, 52 projects, in 37 states. So we're super cool with that. We're kind of rolling forward, Jeff, as just hoping that, COVID will allow us to do something. So, let's say it's middle of the summer before it's safe to go do it. Well, we may just, shorten it from 5 sessions to 3 sessions. You know what I'm saying? If we don't get started on time, or we may just do a 1-day outing, but we're going to, hopefully, we're planning on still connecting with our kids next year. It may look different, but we're going to figure it out, if that makes sense.
Yeah. You can't stop. You got to keep going. So are y'all going to go to Hogwarts? Is that what it is in the UK?
I don't know. I haven't seen Harry Potter in forever, but probably. I'll ask Miss Susan. I'm sure.
Harry Potter, he was an orphan, right? Raised by his...
yeah, he is. Yeah. Oh my goodness. That could be great.
That could be great.
That would be awesome.
Or maybe it's offensive to the people in England, it's culturally inappropriate for the American to come in and pretend to be a wizard.
Yeah. To be a wizard, yeah. I don't know how that's perceived, but I'll ask before we do anything. Okay, Jeff? I'll ask.
Is this culturally appropriate? Are we going to get, canceled before we even start?
That's right. I'll make sure we have all the social protocols under wraps before we start anything.
You're like, I got this idea from a guy on a podcast, so I think it's going to work.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. Instead of like using fly rods, we're gonna use brooms like Harry Potter.
I single-handedly got the Mayfly Project kicked out of the United Kingdom. That would be awesome. that would be great. That'd be horrible. Oh my gosh.
We'll never try it again.
Oh, you're like, I'll never talk to you again. It's the holiday season. This is December 20th of 2020 when this is published. We don't bring any other. I mean, we've had a couple of other nonprofits that have come on, but I really believe in what you're doing and what's going on with you guys, especially in the holiday season. People are looking to give. People are looking to open up their hearts and do something, especially in this crazy time with the pandemic. It feels good to give money. It feels good to give your time. If someone wanted to participate or to give you guys money or resources, or how would they go about donating to you guys?
Yeah. So thanks so much, Jeff, for saying that. I'm going to say this again, because I truly believe this, like the fly fishing community is such a passionate community. You know what I mean? And man, like you said, our Giving Tuesday, like everybody showed up. I mean, just, whether it was, Edgar did some stuff for Sightline again, Fly Vines, Native. I mean, we had all kinds of people just getting the word out about us, So we have on our website, we'll accept donations, of course. And the cool thing about our website is we have like an interactive map, and you can go in. So let's say you're from Michigan, right, Jeff? Right. And so you could donate, to, one of our Michigan projects, or if you're from Pennsylvania, we have a project in Pennsylvania. If you're from Arkansas, we have, 4 projects in Arkansas. So the cool thing is you can kind of specify where your donation goes, so you can make sure that it stays in your state and goes to the kids that are in your community. So we're really proud of that part of our website. Like, we think that's super cool. And the cost per kid is $780 to put a kid through the program. So that, that includes the fly rods for them to use during the 5-session outing, all the flies. That includes the flies and fly rods and all that stuff they get at the end, and also includes, insurance and background checks and, those kinds of things. So it roughly costs $780 to put a kid through the program. So, if we feel like, money's always great, but we feel like the most valuable thing you can give is your time, right? Like, you can't actually buy time. So we think that, if you're interested in mentoring, we have an online application, that you can go in and fill out and, set up a phone call, and we do kind of an interview and talk everybody through everything to make sure that they understand what they're getting themselves into. You know what I mean? But that's, those are, monetary. And like I said, volunteering, volunteering is always amazing. We have a 1-to-1 mentor to mentee ratio. So we're really kind of proud of that, so, we have a ton of mentors and a ton of people who are willing to help, and we always need more, so.
Well, that's great. Well, we'll be sure to put your links down below. They're trying to get a chapter here in Grand Rapids started. I did not sign up to be a mentee because, again, you have to be there, and I don't want to sign up if I'm not going to be able to be consistent, But I went to one of their casting clinics for their with Kim Sears and a few other people here locally, and I'm really excited to see that one get off the ground next year as well. I think they kind of put it on pause with COVID, but we really appreciate you. If you're watching the YouTube channel now, you can click down below. We got links to the Mayfly Project down below. Also, if you're part of our mailing list, you'll get a link there as well that you can give. And Jess, I appreciate your heart. I really appreciate what you're doing for these kids. And thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight.
Well, thanks, Jeff, for having us on, and letting me talk, right? Like I love to talk. So just like you love to talk. So appreciate you letting me on and just letting me loose, even with my wardrobe. So
and your hair, even though you hide your beautiful hair, I will still allow you to be on the show.
Oh man, well, thanks so much, Jeff. And like I said, man, let me know. Like I said, we love to be on here and love chatting with you. So let's do it again.
All right, man. Well, have a great night.
All right, you too, Jeff.
Well, thank you for hanging out with me, Bill.
No problem. It's always a pleasure.
Dude, I love hanging out with you, man.
I know.
We have fun. We'll record a couple of these, at a time. So I don't see you for 3 or 4 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. So I always miss you some. Thanks for coming out, hanging out with me.
My pleasure.
Bill, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Be sure to click down below to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave us a review. All short sleeve t-shirts are $18.
What? Yeah.
Look at that. Bill is like sporting it.
Rocking the Sasquatch. What's our Sasquatch name?
Oh, it is
Skip?
Skip. Yes, it is Skip. Our mascot Skip there.
Pick up your sounded like my dad there. What? Pick up your Skip shirt. That's a tough one to say.
Skip. We should have thought that one through a little bit. Pick up your shirt for $18 short sleeve. That includes taxes, shipping, the whole shooting match. Long sleeve tees right now are $20. We have a few of our Bob White t-shirts left. Go check those out as well. Everyone, we love everyone here who listens. Thank you so much for listening. Bill, did you have any final thoughts?
Oh man, I had like 2 speeches written, and no, they were just wrong. They were about COVID. So nope, nothing.
Bill,
nothing.
Not my president. Wait, is that from 2016 or 2020? I don't know.
Well, it'll only get taken down from YouTube if it's 2020.
2016.
Yes.
Not my president. Be sure to check us out on Rumble sooner than later.
Yes.
Check us out on Rumble, Parler.
Check us out on our alternative
Instagram. Facebook, Twitter. Any more, Bill?
YouTube. YouTube, of course. And of course the podcast. If you're listening now and it's just the podcast, we still love you. We thank you for finding us there.
We love you too. Don't forget the Big Show Peep Show on our OnlyFans site.
Do we have one?
No. Until next time, go fishing.